Are you ready?
Hello, boys and girls. Welcome to the Cool Kids Lunch Table Podcast with PJ and Mike. Now find yourself a seat at their table.
New World Order.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Cool Kids Lunch Table Podcast with PJ and Mike. I'm PJ.
And I'm Mike.
Today is a good one. They're all good ones, but today is an extra special good one because it's about wrestling, and I love me some wrestling. We're going to be discussing the best wrestlers of World Wrestling Federation and World Wrestling Entertainment, because we're going to be talking about the past. World Championship Wrestling, Extreme Championship Wrestling, All Elite Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, all sorts of wrestling.
Give me a hell yeah!
And we're not going to do it alone. We have a friend with us today, back at the lunch table.
Our tag team partner, Mr. Chris Rizzuti.
What's going on, guys? Good to be back.
And we're going to jump right in to wrestling.
Yeah.
So our childhood memory, what was your favorite finisher and submission finisher?
Oh, man. Okay, I'm going to cop out and say that I have two favorite finishers because I have two all-time favorite wrestlers of this era. And first and foremost, it is The Undertaker. So I've got to go with the Tombstone Pile Driver. When he was using the last ride, it was cool. Mm-hmm. It did not hit like a good old Tombstone did. Chokeslam too. Chokeslam's awesome, but then everybody started doing it, and it was kind of like, man. Yeah. But nothing beats a good Tombstone Pile Driver. And my other favorite wrestler of all time is Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Oh, yeah.
So, love the stunner. I do love me some of the RKO, too, though. It's very similar. Out of nowhere. You know, which would have been cool if I could get somebody to do it to me out of nowhere right now on camera. But gotta love the Stone Cold Stunner. When that hit, you knew the match was over. Mm-hmm. So love the Stone Cold. Love the Stone Cold Stunner. Oh, submission too, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. I love the sharpshooter, man.
Oh yeah.
You know, nothing beats that look that Bret Hart had when he's applying it. You know, he's yanking back. But then I saw, the first time I saw it, it was on a video game of all things. Was called the STF before it was the STFU.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is intense. This move.
Which one's that? I have no clue what that looks like.
So you hook somebody's leg, like up on your thigh. And you throw over top of him, and you like crank back on his head.
It almost had like a crippler crossface front when you're pulling back on their head, but instead of doing it from the side, you have their legs trapped instead of their arm.
And all your weight's on top of them too as you're pulling back. So you're really trying to split somebody in half almost. That was an intense one, but I'm gonna go with the sharpshooter as my favorite submission.
Nice. Mm-hmm. Like Chris, I love the Stone Cold Stunner. It looks cool. It looks like it hurts. You know. Yeah. I think it's such a damn good finisher. I have other couple of favorites, but Stunner's my favorite one of all time. Tombstone looks like it hurts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I always say the best choke slams is always by Kane. He has the best choke slams.
Kane has the best choke slam.
But Undertaker, that Tombstone killer. The Razor's Edge, you know, Ramon.
Oh yeah.
Damn, that looked just dangerous. And you know, people forget, he was super tall, super mad strong.
Big dude.
For him to put grown men on his back like that. Oh Jesus!
His fall away slam was pretty cool too. I'd never seen moves like that.
Yeah,
he was ahead of his time.
Yes,
he really was.
Like you said, Chris, good old power bombs are always good. I always like the jackhammer. You know, I always like the Perfect Plex by Mr. Perfect.
Yes, I remember, Mike. I remember one time we were in the backyard, and Uncle Rob, gave me the Perfect Plex.
Oh wow!
And like he wasn't trying to do it on purpose. We just happened to roll over, and I remember we were both laying there like, what just happened?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I love a good old sweet chin music. It just looks like it hurts, man. It's just beautifully done. Mm-hmm. And then for submissions, I always liked the sharpshooter. I put was that called Texas Cloverleaf, which is like almost like
Malenko.
Yeah, and I like the ankle lock, you know, Kurt Angle, and I also like. You guys remember the wrestler Ultimo Dragon?
Yes, Dragon Sleeper.
I love the Dragon Sleeper. I love that move.
Awesome. Yeah.
I love that move. Mm-hmm.
I mean, mine are right up there with all you. The Stone Cold Stunner was great because you could hit it and it looked quick.
Yep.
So like when it happened, it was like bam, Stone Cold Stunner. But no one sells the stunner like The Rock doing like 15 backflips.
Yeah.
Great. That was the best when he would do that. So that's my favorite finisher of all time. But there are so many good ones. The Sweet Chin Music, the RKOs, like you said, are great. I always liked Cactus Jack's double arm DDT.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I thought that was cool to do the double arm. The DDT itself, I always loved the way Raven did the DDT.
Yes.
Yes.
I like that. It was the even flow when it was in WCW, but
Yeah. That's what it was called.
I like that. I think that was he had just a good snap to it, so it looked devastating.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, that was a good one. There were some really good finishers. I love the frog splash. And
Mm-hmm.
I know we're supposed to say Eddie Guerrero has the best frog splash, and he had a great one. But I loved Rob Van Dam's.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I loved Paul Heyman yelling, "Nobody gets as high as Rob Van Dam," and all that. I thought that was great. I love the Van Daminator.
Yeah.
He would throw the chair at somebody and then do that like jumping heel kick and kick him in the face.
Oh,
that
yeah.
was always cool. I'm a big ECW guy, so I always loved a lot of that.
Mm-hmm.
The pedigree was great.
Oh yeah, I forgot about
Devastating.
That.
Love the pedigree, and there are two schools of thought with the pedigree. Do you like it better when he keeps the arms hooked the entire time, or when he lets go of the arms and kind of lets them go? There's like controversy as to which way is better.
Yeah.
And I actually like when he lets go of the arms.
I think it looks more devastating when he does, because he's like slamming down on you too. You know, it's almost like he doesn't even give a damn about you. He's just dropping you. You know. So yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
And then and my favorite submission, I have three. The original Lion Tamer, not the Walls of Jericho when it just crab, but the Lion Tamer when he was in WCW and he would grab the guy and then he put his knee on the back of their head and pull back.
Exactly.
That looked like it hurt like fuck. That was a good one. The crippler crossface, just the intensity that Chris Benoit had on his face when he was cranking back on your head. And then I always liked the Taz mission.
Oh yeah.
Love Taz. Yeah.
Taz is great. So those are my favorite moves. Finishing.
So yeah, guys, we're just gonna go down, just talk about our favorite wrestlers from all different eras.
So like, as a kid, my favorite was Hulk Hogan. Like a lot of kids, I very quickly made the switch to Ultimate Warrior. Because I just loved the intensity, the running to the ring. When you're a little guy, you don't notice like the guy's not exactly good.
Stable.
Yeah, stable. He's just beating the shit out of you, and he gives you the big splash at the end. 1, 2, 3, we're out the door. But I loved at the same time Randy Savage, the Macho Man.
Randy was my guy. I loved Randy Savage.
Because it was also just the intensity and the colors, and loved it. I even liked
promo moves.
Yeah.
Cream of the crop. Ooh, yeah.
Like the promos were just unbelievable. I think I started to like the bad guys a little bit more. Now, I was not a heel fan.
Right.
Even growing up, I was stuck with the babyface kind of guy. But I loved, again, The Undertaker.
Yeah.
I just loved that mystique. I mean, even as a little kid, my favorite movie was The Addams Family. I still to this day love it with Raul Julia. I mean, it's like, love that movie. And Beetlejuice, I loved Beetlejuice and like creepy stuff like that. So I naturally went to The Undertaker. Now, he scared the living shit out of me at first. But after a while, you're like, this guy is cool. I kind of dig this. And then he turned face. And for me, it was just kind of like, oh, cool. I could cheer him now in front of everybody.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Paul Bearer made The Undertaker. I mean,
yeah.
Undertaker was a great wrestler, but Paul Bearer sold the shit out of that character.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He
was just so creepy.
Oh, yes.
Oh, God, his voice and everything. I know, he was just such a creep, and it just made it perfect. I remember one time I had said his name, like Paul Bearer. Right. My mom was like watching it, and she's like, what? I was like, it's Paul Bearer. Like, I don't know what the hell a Paul Bearer is. You know what I mean?
Right.
She's like, so The Undertaker is walking around with the Paul Bearer. Yeah. And she just like shake her head and like didn't want to like kill my childhood innocence, I guess, but just was like, whatever, dude. Just like walk away.
Actually liked The Undertaker when he was an actual Undertaker and he wasn't like a supernatural being.
Yeah.
He was just like a guy building caskets in the back of his promo.
Right.
Right.
It was so cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I liked all those guys. I fell away with wrestling when I moved, believe it or not. It was just kind of like I didn't really know what channel it was on, if it was even airing here. It was little, so I didn't know if it was airing here or not. And it took about 6 months for me to kind of find it again. So from about 1995, I kind of fell away a little bit to about early 1996. And I find it one day and I'm like, oh crap, wrestling, very cool. And this guy was coming onto the scene in 96 who hated Bret Hart with a burning passion, and he was such an asshole. And I was like, I hope the Hitman kicks the crap out of him. And then like you buy into the story a little bit and you're like, oh, Bret Hart's kind of being a dick to this guy.
Yeah.
This guy, what's his name? Stone Cold? And from then on, I was Team Stone Cold.
Yeah.
No matter what was going on. I loved Stone Cold Steve Austin. To this day, I listen to his podcast, so love me. My wife was laughing at me once because there was a WrestleMania where I forget exactly which number it was. It was recent where he came back with
38.
I think that's right.
Before Kevin Owens.
Yeah.
That one, but then there was one before that. He came back with HBK and Cactus Jack.
Yeah.
They went to go slap around the League of Nations.
Yeah.
And so the first one who comes out is Shawn Michaels. And my wife doesn't know boo about wrestling. She's not into wrestling at all.
Right.
But she's just chilling. It was actually on my birthday, WrestleMania. So we're just chilling, watching it, eating pizza, whatever we did. And she's like, oh, my God. When Shawn Michaels came out, I was like, oh, my God, HBK, he's here. She's like, oh, my God, you're acting like, look at you. You're like a kid. And then Mankind comes out. I was like, oh, my God, I mean, Stone Cold has to come out, too. Stone Cold has to. And, of course, the glass breaks. And I'm like a kid, to use an insider term, I'm marking out, and I'm losing my shit. And she's just like laughing at me.
There's something about that Stone Cold theme. The minute that glass breaks, everyone just shits themselves. It's amazing.
Yes.
And it's crazy because he's been gone for a while. Like, he's not spoken about on wrestling. And there's so many newer fans that are younger, and even they know who Stone Cold is. There are very few people that have reached that level where they're just always the most popular wrestler when they show up. It's Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
It's Stone Cold, and it's John Cena.
Yeah.
Like, those three are just, it doesn't matter if it's 40 years from now, if one of their music hits, the place would go crazy. They're just always the most popular.
Yeah. And I would add The Rock to that route.
Yeah, The Rock. I still think Stone Cold is more popular.
Hogan and Stone Cold. We said this before. They are the best of all time, without a doubt.
Yeah.
I always liked The Rock, but I always kind of felt like he was 1B.
Yep. Exactly.
He was great. He was fine for what he was. A little bit one-dimensional though. With Stone Cold, he was this hard-ass, hard-drinking Texan.
Yeah.
But every now and then, he had a heart of gold. Like he would do something that was kind of like
Dave Stephanie from being sacrificed by the Undertaker, even though he hates the McMahons, he would still do the right thing.
He's always going to do the right thing for the show, right?
Right. He's the of being crucified. It's like, what the hell is going on? But in more, I know we're trying to stick to Monday Night Wars times, but in more recent times, my favorites have been on the WWF side, the WWE. I love CM Punk. He's very controversial, but I just love the fact that he's not the biggest dude in the world, but he's going to tell you what he's thinking. He doesn't really give a damn about your feelings, and he can slap you around if he needs to. I like some of the newer guys they have coming up out of NXT. Some of the women they have these days are fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
Bailey is great. Becky Lynch, are great. So we have a lot of great talent today. But CM Punk goes back a while, too, at this point. He's been around for about 20 years. And if you go into his independent stuff, it's even earlier.
Yeah.
Now, in the WCW...
is great.
Yes. Now, on the WCW side, I was definitely much more of a WWF guy than I was WCW. But I liked Dean Malenko.
Yes, I love him. Yes.
Right? Love the Iceman.
The man of 1,000 holds.
Yes. I love that guy.
I loved Chris Jericho. I like wise asses. I know. I like wise asses. So I love Chris Jericho. When he came over, I thought it was the coolest thing, which I know we'll get into, but I thought it was the coolest thing in the world. And it's weird to say now, but I loved Chris Benoit at the time.
Yeah.
I just like the fact that we're like the same height. He was about 5'9", which I'm about 5'9". and tough guy,
Ripped shit.
Yeah, which
Right.
I'm not, but whatever. But and his name was Chris. Like, hey, which I always thought was cool.
You hate to see what happened with Chris Benoit because he should have been one of the all-time greats. You have to wonder, maybe the wife and kid deserved it. Maybe we should give him a pass because he's just so good at wrestling.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Mike, you got some editing to do.
It's just so fucked up because he kills his kid and then leaves his action figure next to the dead kid.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
It's crazy.
Jesus Christ!
I was actually at a conference a few years ago when I actually met one of the detectives that was on the case.
Oh man,
and he's like, "What you've heard in the news, it was much worse than what you think."
God, it really was a shame, and I'll never forget because I forget what pay-per-view it was. Night of Champions, maybe. I think it was Night of Champions or Vengeance, and then he was supposed to win the ECW title.
Yeah,
and it was going to be, I think, Chris Benoit. I think it was Chris Benoit versus Punk.
Yeah,
it was supposed to be the match, and they were like, "Well, he didn't show up, and we didn't know at the time that he was dead. No one knew what happened." And they were like, "Well, what are we going to do? Well, just put in Johnny Nitro."
Right.
Which, like, Johnny Nitro? Why?
I know. Yeah.
Why are we doing that? And then
nice enough guy, but
John Morrison thing, because somehow they were like, "Well, we'll just let him win instead of Punk." I don't know why. And then the next night, everyone is sad. It's this whole memorial episode, and it's just heart-wrenching as a fan.
It is.
And then the next night after that, they start off with ECW. Vince McMahon shows up, and he was never on the ECW show.
Right.
And this is when WWE owned it, so it's not the real ECW, but still, they had their ECW on Tuesday nights on Sci-Fi, and he just basically shows up, and he's like, "Everything we did last night, forget that. We're never talking about this guy again."
Right.
And that's it. And it was just like 3 wild nights in a row of like, what's going on?
What? And I think that's what makes wrestling back then like such the Wild West and probably the pinnacle of wrestling. Like I have a nephew, like he doesn't know the magic of like Monday Night Wars, man.
Yeah.
Like flipping between both channels. Nitro starts at 8, seeing the Nitro girls. you know what I mean?
Right?
Then you hear that theme song at 9 o'clock with you got like you got JR going like we're at Richmond, Virginia, like the fireworks, the pyro, and like you're at home, and then like there's all those great promos of like Highway to Hell. You see like Stone Cold and like all those kind of like these things they filmed. You know what I mean? It's just like, oh my god, the magic back then was just like. Oh, it's like infectious.
Because they had no rules and they didn't give a single shit. Like they weren't worried at that time about like our sponsors might get upset. They just did whatever they wanted. And Stone Cold was like the king of that. There couldn't have been a better wrestler.
Yeah, he would just basically take over those shows. Like
it was just
like after like filming was done, he would put on his own show for like another like half hour, just rolling around on a desk chair, just drinking beers. Just
I was at a Raw that he did it once.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yep. Yeah, he's doing swimming motions and the beer on the ring and stuff. He was wild. There was one episode of Raw, and I forget exactly why it was happening. But still, I think it was after he broke his neck and he had come back and he took the show hostage and he came out during every match and just stunned everybody. And interrupting every single match until he could get a meeting with Vince McMahon, and he would just the whole show was him. He was in every segment of the episode. It was 2 hours of him stunning people.
And then he mocked everybody after he did the Jeff Jarrett walk.
Yeah. I mean, he's a legend because he was so great. But then, like, you can't even forget about the impact of like DX.
Oh yeah.
Like, Austin carried that Attitude Era to the highest of high. But it started with DX, and like there were so many promos that they cut that were just like raunchy and hysterical and just amazing. Like those guys, the chemistry that Triple H and Shawn Michaels have is unbelievable.
Incredible. Yeah.
I think one of the things that made them very different, like WWF, and WCW was, I feel like WCW, they had like different characters. I mean, clearly, but like, I'm trying to think of like terms of like tone, like they were like, they had their own.
More about the wrestling. I felt like they had characters and gimmicks, but I really feel like most of their storytelling was done in the ring. If it was a promo, it was either on the stage or in the ring. The story was told in the ring. They didn't have a lot of like backstage goofy.
Yeah, that's true.
That's
a good point.
To me was the biggest difference. Like if you wanted to watch a 30-minute wrestling match on Monday night. You could watch Nitro, and you might see the luchadors and all that stuff. If you wanted to be just super entertained by some madness and then a quick 5-10 minute match to end the madness, you watched Raw.
Yeah.
It was two different vibes, but they both worked, and neither one was wrong.
Yeah. I think one of my favorite characters. You guys remember Norman Smiley?
Oh yeah,
Smiley, yes, he was great.
I just love that whole but they pulled it off. I feel like today that wouldn't work. I don't know why.
They wouldn't be able to figure it out.
But he had that pizzazz. He'd be look at this. Whatever he did, I can't remember his finishing move. It was like a leg drop. I don't even know. But he wore the bright yellow, almost like maybe a goof on maybe it was a goof on Hulk Hogan. Maybe I don't even know.
Maybe.
But
I love the Disco Inferno too. He would come out dancing.
Yes.
Yeah,
but it worked. Something about it worked.
Alex Das Wonderkind, and he would come out and do weird dance. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the Disco Inferno, he was kind of a badass too. He could fight. He looked like you'd get beat up, but he was a good wrestler.
He did the stunner as his finishing move, but he called it the chart busting.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
That's right.
And also I said, in terms of raunchiness, like Val Venus, but I actually thought he was a very good wrestler. His frog splash, he was the money shot, but he was legit good, man.
Mm-hmm.
I think then he partnered up with the Godfather. I mean, what a combination!
And then they became the right to censor.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I hated them because of that damn theme song.
Oh, the siren.
Oh God, I hated them.
But who was that guy? Who was the guy who was I think it was right. He was can't think of his name. He was clean shaven, kind of a good looking guy. He always wore a suit, or a shirt and tie, kind of like an IRS kind of look.
Oh, was it Stevie Richards?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Stevie.
He was good. I hated that guy, but you were supposed to hate him, but he was good for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you went from Stevie Richards, he was with the BWO, and he was the Job Squad, and then
the Job Squad.
Then they turned him into, instead of Stevie, he became Steven Richards, and
Steven.
Yeah.
He was an ECW guy, Stevie Richards, Big Stevie Cool, and they did the Blue World Order, and he was Big Stevie Cool, and they had the Blue Meanie. I mean, ECW doesn't get the credit. Well, I think now it gets the credit. For a while, it was looked at like Bush League, but now people look back at it fondly because they had some crazy ass character. They had the Sandman coming through the crowd.
Oh,
yeah,
he was great. Raven. I mean, when they did some wild shit. Talk about sacrifices. I mean, those guys were they had everyone hating on them because they were just devil worshiping. They were sacrificing people.
Right. Yep.
Paul Heyman put together some wild, crazy shit. I mean, it was so good. The Dudleys. The Dudleys were great in WWE, and they had such a run, but they were watered down compared to what they were. Because remember to do the commandments, the Dudley commandments, and in WWE it was "Thou shalt not mess with the Dudleys," but in ECW it was "Thou shalt not fuck with the Dudleys."
Yeah,
and they had Sign Guy Dudley dances with Dudleys. It was just so offensive and great.
I felt like ECW. I feel like ECW always reminded me of Street Fighter, where you just someone's hey, I'm gonna fight you, I'm gonna wrestle you. They just set up a makeshift ring. They always had that kind of vibe where WWF, WCW, they felt like there was more prestige, the major leagues.
But
and felt like that was the street fights of wrestling.
They did Rob Van Dam versus Jerry Lynn about 500,000 times, and each time they wrestled, it was a completely different match.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how they just Stone Cold The Rock fought a lot, but after a while, you knew exactly what was going to happen and when.
Yeah.
But with Jerry Lynn and RVD, I felt like that was a different match each time, and it was a banger each time. They were great. I mean, they had some of the best actual talent.
That's a guy who does not get the respect he deserves, is Jerry Lynn.
Absolutely.
He's fantastic.
Yeah.
He should definitely be named amongst the RVDs, Taz, all those guys of the world. He was great.
I remember Shane Douglas winning that title, and it wasn't Extreme. It was Eastern Championship Wrestling. And then when Shane Douglas won it, I think he threw it down the Eastern Championship Wrestling. They called it Extreme, and all that shit was wild.
Mm-hmm.
Never saw anything like that. You thought it was like the Japanese wrestling where they would do stuff like that, but nope, here it was.
Well, it's because Paul Heyman's a genius. I mean, he was terrible with money. That's why they didn't exist. If Paul Heyman was good with money, and had, I'm not even saying a Vince McMahon or Ted Turner budget, but just any budget, ECW could have put them all down because Paul Heyman is just that good at what he does.
Yeah.
Chris, I want to ask you a question. What's your opinion? Were you more of a Edge and Christian guy or more of a Hardy Boys when they were going head to head?
So surprisingly, even though during this time I was living in Hardy territory, I was an Edge and Christian guy.
Yeah, me too, man. Yeah. You always reminded me, Chris. I feel like you look like both those guys combined.
I'll take it. Thank you. Yes.
You look like you were clean shaved. You look like Edge, and with your little scruff, now you look like Christian. But and you have, and they're funny too. I thought they were really funny. Edge
they were
and Christian.
great.
Yeah. I know they
came
out of
Christian better also.
The Gangrel brood. They were supposed to be, but they really became really comedic. I always felt the Hardy Boys, as much as they were great athletes. I thought they were boring, though. I thought they were boring.
It was too much of a spot fest with them. We knew they were going to just jump off of shit. Edge and Christian were telling a story and then jumping off of shit.
And they had mic skills. Edge and Christian, they were funny. Like I can't.
The 5-second poses.
Yeah.
For the
it's like they were goofing on themselves. What a cast of characters, man.
Amazing. What's funny about the Hardys is, living in the Richmond, Virginia area, we had a local access show that they ran every Saturday morning at 10:30. And I remember that specifically because at 11, Justice League would come on, and I would switch over to the next show. But at 10:30, it was this wrestling show, and the main event, it was like in high school gyms, armories. The main event every single week was Matt and Jeff Hardy versus whatever tag team. So they were huge in this area, like on the independent scene.
Was it Omega Wrestling?
No, it wasn't. It was, they were a part of Omega at the time. They talked about it, but it was like, we have this thing here. I forget their name. They actually do great work. They're a local promotion that does a lot of fundraisers for organizations and things like that. I forget what they're called, unfortunately, because I'd love to give them a little shout out, but they contract out talent from time to time to do different shows and everything like that for different charitable events. And it was their show. So they would always mention that they wrestle for Omega, and I had no idea what the hell Omega was, at the time. But it was really cool. It was like shot with 2 cameras. It was like poorly lit and everything like that, but it was wrestling. It was pure wrestling. And these 2 freaking guys would go through tables. They'd hit you in the head with a chair, everything like that. Matt and Jeff Hardy. And I remember seeing them on WWF and like, wow, look where those guys. I remember these dudes. It was really cool.
I know we were talking about, some of the hotties, back in the day in terms of you had Sable, you had Tori Wilson and all that kind of stuff. But she wasn't really a classic beauty, but I should be really afraid of her. You remember Luna Vachon? Remember her? She was like, she's always going like, I don't know what she was doing. I feel like she was like vomiting words. She always had I don't know, she had piercings on her face. She was very gothic and grotesque.
Yeah, she was crazy.
Yeah.
But Goldust for a while, and that's when she was... That's when Goldust was wearing all sorts of weird shit. He wasn't just Goldust anymore.
The artist formerly known as Goldust.
Goldust, yeah.
Did Luna ever fight Chyna? Did they ever wrestle each other?
I don't think so, no.
Okay, because I don't know if Luna was, I think she was just like a manager, right? I don't think she actually wrestled.
Yeah. No, she was a wrestler also.
She was a wrestler.
I
think she's actually related to Mad Dog Vachon.
His niece, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Right. But I remember her just being scary, man. Just like...
Who was your favorite of the hot chicks, though?
Oh, man. Damn, dude. At one point, I was all about Sable. Then, it's they keep getting hotter. You have Trish Stratus, then you have Stacy Keibler, then you had Mrs. Elizabeth back in the day. She was gorgeous.
Stacy Keibler is one of my favorites, and also, not now because now she's a disaster, but Sunny.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Poor thing.
She was really pretty
there.
Yeah, really.
She was really pretty. Yeah, I mean, damn, Tori Wilson. She used to be married to, I think, Billy Kidman. I used to like Billy Kidman.
Yeah.
He was a good wrestler. He had a good, I think he had a shooting star press as his finisher.
Yeah. And he was at WCW with the 7-year itch.
Right, yeah.
Remember that? Yeah.
What was the name of the Ravens? What was it called? Ravens Flock or Ravens?
Flock. Yeah.
Flock, right. Flock. Who was in there? You had Raven, Kidman.
You had Raven, Kidman, Saturn.
Saturn, yeah.
Saturn, yeah.
Scotty Riggs. You had, I think, Van Hammer.
Right.
There, yeah.
That too. And I don't know if Canyon was in the Flock. I don't think Canyon was in the Flock.
I don't I don't remember if he was or if they were just enemies. I
I
can't
think
remember.
they might have just been enemies.
Well,
Yeah.
Was Canyon the guy who used to be Atom Bomb, or who was
No, he was Mortis.
Mortis.
Oh wow, okay.
Who better than Canyon? And everyone would yell, "Everybody!"
Everybody.
Oh right.
What happened to him too? That was another sad ending for Canyon.
Mm-hmm. But I felt like WCW they had more like I guess like old school characters, in a weird way. Like I mean, they got like you had like Hulk Hogan. They were kind of Vince was getting rid of all of them. But like remember like Psychosis? I used to just laugh at his name.
Yeah,
he would be like in a skeleton outfit.
Yeah.
And then you had like all these different characters, like Ultimo Dragon, like just going for even Harlem Heat. They were kind of a goof. You know what I mean? Like in a way, they were like so like. They were kind of getting dated, but they were still pulling it off because they had such charisma.
It was really the NWO that like WCW.
Exactly.
They did have some. They had like Glacier. They had all these
it's like American Gladiator people.
Yeah, and when the NWO came in, they brought some of that realism to.
Yes,
WCW.
and it was actually good because you had these wrestlers, and then you had NWO to contrast.
Yeah.
So.
Right. They had like the Dungeon of Doom or whatever the fuck they were called, and like all these.
Remember that?
Yeah. Remember Hulk Hogan going through like caverns looking for them, and it was so cartoony.
Where am I? I don't know this place.
Exactly.
What are you talking about?
I know who was really good, like villain too, was Eric Bischoff. I used to hate that guy.
He's another one that's
he's good though. Like, man, he played that part perfect.
Great bad guy.
Hate that. Oh man.
Call out Vince McMahon every week to a fight.
Yeah.
Karate guy. He did know some karate. I think that was real.
Yeah, he's a martial artist. Yeah. He's a martial artist.
And when actually speaking of martial arts, I don't know, PG, you might know, and definitely you, Chris. Like, I felt like maybe the '90s when you started to have more of like former fighters, real fighters, like Ken Shamrock, Steve Blackman. I don't know if he fought, but he was a real trained, guy.
Severn.
I think that was like the beginning of like having those dudes come over.
Yeah. Tank Abbott.
Yeah, you remember Tank? Yeah, he came over. Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I remember
he did Brawl for All and they brought in Butterbean.
Remember that? He beat the shit out of Bart Gunn.
He just killed him. But the Brawl for All was great because everyone thought like some of these real tough guys were going to win. And Bart Gunn just came out of nowhere and beating the shit out of people, just knocking everyone out.
Yep.
PJ and I the other day, we were talking about documentaries. And we would say, what's it called? Dark Side of the Ring. And there's a whole episode. That's all like for folks at home. That's like a whole documentary series about wrestling. They pick a topic or a wrestler. But that whole thing, PJ, you ever see the one they do Brawl for All?
Yeah.
Great. I remember PJ. Maybe you saw at the Coliseum some Monday Night Raw. But I saw Brawl for All.
Yeah, we saw one.
Really? That's cool.
Yeah. I think what was it, Terry? Is it Terry Bradshaw? Was it? No, oh my God, it's a football player.
No, it was Terry Bradshaw's a football player, but what was his
Bradshaw?
John
Bradshaw Layfield, but he was Blackjack Bradshaw. I think he might have been Blackjack Bradshaw at that time.
Yep.
But yeah, he got. I don't know if I remember he fought, but I remember he was like this guy. I think had a big mouth, and then that Brawl for All shut him up.
Oh yeah, he got KO'd.
Bart Gunn rocked him in the face.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Dropped him.
Yeah, that was amazing. Mm-hmm. And just other wacky characters. Like I know I talked about this before in other past episodes. I always laughed at Doink the Clown. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Doink is always funny.
Oh yeah.
I felt like back then he was really more of like probably a playoff. What was it? John Wayne Gacy, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was something like that.
I know now. I think he's called. I don't know if he's still around. The Fiend. I think he's called, right? Or
Fiend was Bray Wyatt.
Yeah.
Oh.
If you want a good cry, if you just feel like you need to cry, watch that documentary. Oh my!
Hard watch.
Is he still alive or?
No, he died. He was in his 30s. I think he was younger than us.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, and he was a phenomenal wrestler.
Yeah.
Such a brilliant mind, creative guy. He was probably Bray Wyatt was probably my favorite wrestler of like this new era.
Yeah.
He had everything going for him, and then I guess the COVID and some other stuff happened to him, and he died. He just passed away in his sleep. A young guy, and he was changing wrestling. He was like going to be the next guy. The way we say Stone Cold changed wrestling, and John Cena changed wrestling. He could have been the next Undertaker, the next guy to change this business.
So I recently saw a podcast Undertaker was on. Now I don't know if this was the plan, but it was something Undertaker was thinking, where he was saying like he was going to take almost a backstage role to Bray Wyatt.
Yeah.
But he's like he was gonna almost be like the evil emperor, and Bray was gonna be like Darth Vader.
Yeah.
He was really gonna go target somebody. Bray would ask Undertaker for permission. Or
Yeah.
Undertaker would like tell him like, you need to go ahead, whatever, I don't know, but Undertaker had pitched that idea, and then everything came to a screeching halt.
Yeah, very sad. The Fiend character was brilliantly done.
Brilliant.
Firefly Funhouse was brilliant. Bringing in Alexa Bliss was.
That's it. That's
I know. How great was that?
That with the Alexa's Playground and all that. Oh my God, it was just so brilliant. Such a smart wrestler, great in the ring, such a great look.
What was that guy? He was getting. I don't know if he retired, if he got injured, or he was dead. Daniel something, Daniel Johns, Daniel. Like
Daniel
everybody was like, that's it. He's the one who's like yes man, right? Yes.
Yeah.
His thing was like saying yes.
He's one of the best technical wrestlers of all time. I'm not a huge fan of him, but one of the best technical wrestlers of all time. He's in AEW now.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, man, Bray was just great. He was great. And going back to that, what a terrible loss for wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Terrible. I hear rumors that Bo Dallas, who's his real life brother, is going to come back and be like a similar character.
I think he's going to continue the Uncle Howdy thing or whatever.
Yeah, I hope so. That'd be great. And to see that storyline continue. There'd be a new element to it now too, which would be kind of interesting.
Guys, I have another random question. So Chris, so are you? Who's your favorite NWO character?
Oh boy.
NWO.
I know.
I always love the theme song.
I gotta say, man, like
New World Order.
For those who are listening only, we're also on camera. You can watch us on YouTube.
Yeah.
PJ's throwing up. Both of them are throwing up the hand signs.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Sweet. So I loved Scott Hall. I thought was great. I did not like that they tried to exploit his real life alcoholism.
Yes, that's not good. That's
a terrible battle for people to fight. It's not. I don't think a lot of things are off topic. Quite honestly, I think
that was a tough thing to watch as a fan.
That was tough. Yeah.
I struggling in real life, and that's a joke out of it.
I did like Conan a lot. With the Wolfpack.
I like Conan too.
I liked him a lot.
Wow, I forgot about that guy.
Yeah.
Rowdy.
Rowdy, Somos pato y loco siempre. And it was so cool with that.
Well done.
Yeah, I liked. It was hard to beat the bullshit of Hollywood Hogan though. He was such a scumbag.
Oh, I loved Hollywood Hogan, man. I loved it. I always laughed when he came out playing the guitar and
played along.
That always cracked me up, man.
The belt was the guitar, played along the Hendrix. I was like, he's such an asshole. And he was good though. So yeah, I liked Kevin Nash.
Yeah,
I liked him. Yeah,
he didn't add as much.
He didn't.
You know what? Yeah. He didn't add as much on screen, but he built that thing with a lot of his.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes, definitely. Don't want to take away from him. Yeah.
Yeah.
No question.
I always remember too, like these other characters, like I feel like they just appeared out of nowhere, like Buff Bagwell, like where did he come from? I don't remember him.
Scott Norton showing up.
Yeah, yes.
Like every week there was just new random Horace Hogan. There was just new people like wearing black and white.
It's true.
You know who was a real nut? I always say Scott Steiner. That guy was crazy.
Yeah, he's crazy.
There
was nothing better in this world when it comes to wrestling promos than Steiner Math.
Yeah,
I know.
Best.
From a very highly educated university.
Yeah.
Normally, you have 50% chance of winning a match, but I'm a genetic freak, so I got a 33 1/3%.
Yeah. It is worth the look. Look up Steiner Math. It's worth the watch. Fantastic.
I remember the hardcore matches for WWF.
Yeah.
And like those were just like I don't know, something about it. Like I guess there's obviously they took inspiration from ECW, but
yes,
I don't know what it was. Like something like it was like I had like that technically it was a 24/7.
Yeah.
And like the belt was always smashed up, and like it would constantly change within like one match, like 5 different people.
Right. I liked hardcore matches, but after a while I started getting bored with them because they were very by the numbers, the WWF style at least.
Yeah.
There was going to be a trash can, there was going to be a table, there was going to be a kendo stick.
You needed someone like an Al Snow when he was doing it because they would fight outside the arenas.
Yeah.
But when you didn't, Raven was great, but when you didn't have the right people in it, it just became chairs, kendo sticks. You threw a table and the match is over. And 24/7 made it more fun because became a joke, but it was at least fun.
Right.
But Snow was really, when I think of the hardcore division, I think of Al Snow.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
What was the name of his finishing move? The snowplow? What was it?
Snowplow.
Yeah, it was. Right.
I
always laughed that he had the mannequin hit. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of meetings with that head, but that thing always cracked me up. He used to hit people with it.
Smack you with it, yeah.
Boom. Oh, my God. I was always torn, guys, with Mankind. Like, I liked him wrestling, but I didn't like his character, really.
I like Cactus Jack better. That's my favorite of the Mick Foley.
Mine too.
character.
Yeah, I loved Cactus Jack.
Yeah. I feel like
it was a goof. It was funny.
Yeah, and you had what was it, Mr. Sacco? He used to pull it out, and
So I actually met him once.
Oh.
He did a comedy show here. It was like comedy storytelling that he did, and me and a couple of my buddies went up there, and sure enough, he's sitting just right there on the patio of this comedy place that he's doing the show at, and he's just sitting there. So I say to the guy who works there, I'm like, "Are you able to go by and say hello?" He goes, "Ask him."
Right.
Okay, so I kind of look over at him. He's not doing anything. He's literally just looking out into the parking lot. So I kind of lean over, and I was like, "Mr. Foley?" He turns around. He goes, he goes, "Hey, come on over. Come sit down."
Wow.
We ended up hanging out with him for like 15 minutes.
That's cool.
Just kind of chilling.
Very kind and generous to fans.
He was great. Yeah, he was great. Both talked about being from Long Island, because he's from Setauket, so it's cool to chat about that. And my other friends weren't too into wrestling, so they were like, well, one of them was into it, so we were chatting with him. But yeah, we ended up spending some time with him. It was really, really neat. He was a really nice guy.
But also made like the Monday Night Raws and WCW Nitros so special. It was like flipping back and forth. Can you guys remember a segment where you were going back and forth? Was there any kind of matches or things you were trying to?
I mean, it was just every episode I would jump back and forth.
Okay, nothing that stands out. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I remember. I think the biggest one where I'm like, oh my God, I don't know what to do, is like you always want to watch both main events, but Hogan was fighting Goldberg for the title.
Yeah. Wow, that's right.
I can't not watch this one, but I really want to see what's going on.
I know.
That's the height of the Monday Night Wars. Austin's huge. They have so much big stuff going on there, but then you have a Hulk Hogan title defense being given away for free, so you don't want to not watch that. That was probably one of the biggest ones where I was flipping back and forth.
That was the big one in the Georgia Dome, right?
Yeah.
I remember that. That whole episode was great.
Yeah,
that was a great episode.
Then Goldberg inevitably wins, and all the WCW guys come into the ring and they're celebrating because they finally had someone that could defeat the NWO and everything. Yeah,
God, that was great. But yeah, I remember just like you said, just constantly flipping on my little Sanyo box TV, with a channel recall. Yep. Okay, this segment's great. I'm watching this. This one stinks. I'm gonna watch the other one. Just constantly going back and forth. And I think they eventually picked up on it because they'd go to commercial at the same time.
Yeah.
It always threw the break around the same time, and it was like, oh, come on.
Yeah.
I could get 4 minutes watching this one versus.
Do you remember the official start of the downfall of WCW was when Tony Schiavone spoils the end of Raw?
Yeah.
And he says, I don't know if you want to watch that other show. They're putting the title on Mick Foley. That'll put butts in seats. And then everyone stopped watching Nitro and watched Raw and never switched back ever again. That was like the end of WCW.
I actually like Tony Schiavone as a commentator. What was his partner's name? The other guy? He was like more like a.
There was Iron Mike Tenay. There was Larry Zbyszko, Bobby the Brain Heenan.
Bobby the Brain.
Yeah, that's it.
All those guys that would do it. Stagger Lee Marshall did it sometimes.
That's right.
There was trying to think. There was a couple of other guys that
I like them.
Mm-hmm. Scott Hudson did some commentary for WCW.
Yeah, that's right.
But those guys were good.
Another guy who I can't think of.
Yeah. Tenay and Schiavone and
Bischoff did some commentating too.
Did it for a bit. Yeah. I used to call him Schiavone.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, hey man, don't say that about an Italian.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was great. And then they had Thursday nights. It was WCW Smack. Thunder, right?
Thunder was on Thursday nights. Was Thunder. Right. Which eventually moved to Wednesday because SmackDown laid the SmackDown on Thunder.
Yeah. And Thunder was rough.
Yeah, they had Monday night. WCW had a lot of shows because they had Sunday mornings. They had WCW Worldwide.
Yeah.
Right.
And then they'd have a pay-per-view at night. Then Monday you had Monday Night Nitro. Thursday they had Thunder. They had Saturday Night Wrestling at 6 p.m. on TBS. WCW Saturday Night. They had a lot of shows.
Yeah, Overkill. That probably didn't help. But
I remember WCW Saturday Night was like there was nothing else. There was no other wrestling on Saturday night. So I remember just like sitting there, like, on a nice summer day. These are like these like core memories as a kid, I just remember sitting there like it was a nice summer day. Maybe you were at the pool all day or hanging out, whatever it was that you were doing. Now you're coming in, getting ready for dinner, just chilling and watching WCW Saturday Night, for a half hour or whatever before it was dinner time. Just good times, man.
Oh, the best. Yeah, but guys, we have one last match,
Let's
and
do
it's
it.
a pop quiz.
Let's do it.
So this is PJ versus Chris.
Okay. He's gonna win.
He's looking for revenge because I won the Batman battle, so he's looking for revenge.
I'm looking for it, but I think you got me.
Right. So here we go.
All right.
Who was Goldberg's first opponent on his first WWE pay-per-view in 2003?
Is it Triple H?
No. You
Hold
can take guesses. 2003.
Hold on, I feel like I know this. I'm gonna say one, but I don't. This might not be it. What, Dustin Rhodes or Goldust?
No.
It was somebody. Yeah, God, I can't.
It wasn't Jericho.
No, it's a big wrestler. I'll give you that. It's one of the biggest.
Oh, was it The Rock?
Yep.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
Yeah, because The Rock was harassing. I mean, I remember that. Yeah. That's right.
I do remember it now.
Okay. So back in WrestleMania 10, Randy Savage defeated Crush in a match with what stipulation? What was the first?
Balls count anywhere.
Whoa, Chris!
Yeah.
I remember that match distinct. My cousin and I used to watch it all the time.
Very cool. At what event did Vader debut for the WWF in '96? What pay-per-view?
It was In Your House, but I don't know. Like, do you want the? Wasn't it In Your House?
No.
No.
Was it Royal Rumble?
Yes.
Yeah.
William Steven Regal was fired from WCW in 1998 for refusing to sell for what wrestler?
Goldberg.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know why that made me laugh. Okay. Who was the first entrant into the first ever Royal Rumble in 1988?
Hacksaw, right?
Nope.
Hacksaw won.
He won it.
Hacksaw won it. The first person to enter it was
first. Yeah.
It wasn't Bret Hart.
Yes, it was. It was.
Ooh, good one, PJ. Damn.
All right, so Chris is still in the lead, 3-2. Okay. Who is credited with popularizing the DDT?
Jake the Snake.
Yep, Chris. Yep, nice. Okay. Who was the first ever to win the WWF or WWE's Women's Championship belt? Women's.
Was it Fabulous Moolah?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, this is a tight match. I'm getting turned on. Okay. In what year did WWF Monday Night Raw debut?
1993.
Whoa,
Yeah.
Chris.
I was in my brain going back between 92 and 93. And
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Who was Hulk Hogan's tag team partner at the main event in WrestleMania 1?
Oh, Mr. T.
WrestleMania 1 was Hulk.
It was Chris got it. It was Mr. T.
Yeah, T, yeah.
Damn.
With Jimmy Snuka in the corner.
It was Paul Orndorff was on the other side with Roddy Piper.
Paul Orndorff, Roddy Piper, yeah.
It's called finish the phrase. Okay.
Okay.
So, Chris, our example would be like, what's the bottom line? And you would
Stone
finish.
Cold
Okay,
said.
so
Gotcha. All right, I'm with you.
finish the phrase. When you're NWO.
You're NWO for life.
Yes.
World
And for
order.
folks who are listening, both Chris and PJ did the hand signals of it at the same time.
Oh, God.
This
This
is
is the
amazing.
cool kids
And then,
one.
actually, that was a tight battle. So Chris still won. It was 6-5. So
All right, I'll take it.
nice. I know that was a lot of
One came down to 1 point also.
Yeah. See, thinking along the same lines here.
Oh, yeah.
very good, guys. Both of you deserve belts. Very good. Chris, yeah, it was a pleasure having you on this episode.
Oh, yeah. Great to be back.
Mm-hmm. For folks listening at home, check out Chris's episode where we ranked the live action Batman films. He was great on that. We did a great job ranking them. It was, oh my God, it was a great fight. Just like it was a great match like this. Oh
yeah, episode. Great time.
Chris, any plugs for us before we go?
Just one. I work for, like we said in my last episode, my local police department. I am a digital content coordinator, so you can check out some of the stuff that we've done over there. It's some good stuff. We try to get you behind the scenes of police training and what it is that we do on a regular basis. That's CCPD.
Save lives. That's what you do.
Well, hey, you know,
bring order. Bring one order, like the big boss man.
I tell the stories of the guys who do it. That's what I do these days. And CCPD VA on YouTube rather, and so we'd love to have you check it out.
Fantastic! Thank you so much, Chris.
No,
and you know the deal, guys. Same time, same table,
brother.
I think I'm cute. I know I'm sexy. I've got the look. The drive so go wild. I've got the move. That really move. I said chill. Up and down their spine. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy.
Boys and girls, lunchtime is over. For more information, visit their website at coolkidslunchtable.podbean.com. Follow the boys on all social media platforms. Just search Cool Kids Lunch Table Podcast. Now get to class before you get detention.